Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Okay, somebody can respond to me whether you can hear me or not.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Okay, so today we'll continue. Okay, last week we learned about decision. Okay, so last week, so you learn about if else. Okay, if else, if, okay, and else. Okay, so then you learn about switch case and otherwise. Okay, and then you learn about vector decision. Okay, so you have learned the first one about control flow. Now for today you learn about loop. Okay, so loop basically instead of for decision you learn about whether it is true or false, something like that. But for loop it is repeated again and again. Okay, so for loop basically you will learn about for loop. Okay, and then you have learned about while, and then you need to learn about vector loop, and the last one is array loop. Okay, so for this thing you need to learn about break and continue. Okay, so for today we will cover all of this. So let me start the slide. Okay, control loop. So the first thing you can see here, you can have either this one. Okay, you can either have while and you have the statement here, and this is the condition. Okay, as long as the condition is true, it will repeat again and again. So that is while, if you use while for repetition. But if you use for, this one it based on index. Okay, instead of condition. Okay, so for this one is true or false. If you have a condition whether it is true or false, but if you want to use for, it is better for array. So array is something like, for example, time. Okay, so time maybe you want to set is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to repeat for 1 and then for 2, for 3, for 4, and for 5. So that is mean by array, index of the array. So this is the statement. Okay, so this is the different. Okay, depending on the question or depending on the condition. Okay, so let us look at the first example here. So example 9. Okay, so for example 9, it is the formula compound of interest. No need to worry because this is basically economy. Okay, so basically this is a formula. You just need to know the formula. Okay, and you know A is 100. Okay, this one, and you have 5 different year. So you want to know what is the in your what you call the compound interest. Okay, what you will get if the year is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so basically you have A, R, and N. Okay, this one is only one parameter, this one is only one parameter, but this one is multiple. So you have to do repeated calculation of B. Okay, multiple time. So to do that, you have to do this first. So you have to list down the one that is not changing. Okay, and then you use for. So remember, for is based on the index. So you can see here 2 to 10. and the step is 2. So basically this means that n is equals to 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, make sure you recall back chapter 2. Okay, chapter 2. So then you just insert the formula here. Okay, so this formula is already this. Okay, let me clear this. Okay, so you just insert the formula, just write about it, and don't forget about multiplication. Okay, and 1 plus n to the power of n, and then you display the result n and b. Okay, so you have to display inside the 4 because you have multiple. You have to display for each of the result for each of the year. Okay, so after you run this, you will get the answer directly. Okay, so let us look. So I suggest when you run the simulation, make sure you add this at the top. It will clear the memory and everything. Okay, so if you run this, you will get the result. Okay, for 2 years, this one, 2 years, you will get your interest, your investment is 100 ringgit, but after 2 years, your interest will be, after 2 years, you will get 116. After 4 years, you will get this one. Okay, so be careful, make sure this one is inside. If you put this outside of this, it will not print, only print out the last result. So you can see here. Okay, so make sure you place it inside here. Okay, and you will get the result. Okay, any question for this example? Okay, if no, I continue. So this is the next example, while loop. Okay, so what is while loop? Same thing. Okay, so for first one, the for loop is based on index, but for the while loop is based on boolean. Is it true or is it false? As long as the boolean is 1, it will run this loop, this statement. Okay, so you can see here, you use the same thing. Okay, so you have A, you have R, and this one is start. Remember, n start from 2, and the step is 2, and then 10 years. Okay. Okay, so you can see here. Let me clear this up first. Okay, so you can see here. So the n, sorry, my pen doesn't respond. Okay, so the n is equals 2 until 10, right? So you can see here, if you use while, you have to put the initial year and put the end year, as long as the n is lower than 10. You can see here, you start with 2, 4, and you end with 10. So you have to know how to convert this. So you can use the formula again and display, but for the step, make sure you put this. If you use while, it will not add. Okay, this is important because you have to change it to 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, if you don't put this, your computer will become error because it will run continuously. So let's have a look. Okay, you can see here the result is the same. Okay, just the difference is then if you use while, the initial, the final value, and the step you have to break it out. So depending on the problem you want to do, okay, or you want to program, okay, you can either use while or use for. So that is the difference. Okay, so you need to practice how to convert this. Okay, it is for tests. Usually this question will come out. Okay, so I repeat again, this type of question usually come out in the test. So practice how to convert while to loop and loop to while. Okay, so next, another example 11. So this is an electrical example. Okay, so you can see here, you don't need to understand much about it. So what this thing said that, okay, you can see here, the RC is capacitor, V is the voltage, okay, connected to series, Q is the charge build up. Okay, you no need to worry about this. You just need to know how to convert this inside the MATLAB. Okay, and then you have to know the time. Okay, so the problem is monitor the charge every 0.5 seconds. So you can see here T start from, okay, T start from 0 and the step is 0.5. Okay, until the charge. Okay, and you it doesn't tell when the time end. Okay, but it want to know when the charge is 2. Stop. Okay, so given that V is equals to 9, R is equal to 4, and C equals to 1. So this is constant. So no need to worry about this one. C constant. Okay, so the change is only T. So these things is only changes. Okay, for this type of case, okay, I don't suggest you to use for. Why? Because you can, when you want to use for, okay, when you want to use for, you need to know the beginning, then the step, and end. But the problem with this one, you don't know the end of the time. Okay, so you cannot, you can use, but it's better to use while for this type of condition. Okay, so this is the code. So you can see here, this is the constant. Usually you have to start the constant first. Okay, you list down all the constant inside the program. Okay, so then you start with the time. Okay, so the initial also, if you use while, remember that I say if you use while, you have to initiate. Okay, T and Q. And for this case, okay, because you want to save all the value, okay, previously, okay, if you look here, previously, yeah, so previously you can see that, okay, your print every time the loop is done. Okay, so you don't need to store any value. Okay, but if you want to print it outside of the loop, okay, you have to store the value. So when you want to store the value, okay, let me open the display. Okay, so if you want to print it outside of the loop, okay, you have to store the value. So how to store the value? Okay, you don't want only the initial of the parameter that you want to use. Okay, you also needs to create a index. Okay, to store the value. Why you have to create another parameter? When it comes to index, okay, index needs to be integer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So it needs to be integer. And you can see that the t, okay, t is not integer because 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5. This is not integer. So you cannot use this as index. And Q also, you can see here, Q is also something of a, something is not indexed, because you can see here there is exponential and everything, it will not become indexed. So you have to introduce one parameter you can use as a index. Okay. So you can see here the condition said that it will end when the Q is more than 0. So when Q is less than 0, you have to do the loop. Okay, that's why you have to use less instead of more. Okay, so let me clear this first. Okay, so this one is basically the end condition. This is the equation. Make sure you know how to include inside the MATLAB. So C multiply needs to have the star. Okay, so exponential, you can use this. Okay, exp open bracket close bracket. That is how to do exponential. Okay. Okay, so that is how to do exponential, and then the time and so on. So you can see here, this is the indexing. So it used the n, okay, the index to store the Q and T. Start with 1. Okay, so you store it inside the capital Q and capital T. And then for the time, this one is for the stack. Okay, you can see here in your previous, okay, you can see here time, okay, for the time is increased 0.5 second each. Okay, so you have to put T is equal to T plus 0.5. So this is how you do the step in the while loop. Okay, and then you have to increase the index. Okay, you have to store the information, right? So you have to include here. Okay, so this is not necessary if you have quantity here that is not that is integer. But if you don't have any quantity that is integer and it is step by 1, you have to create a index. Okay, so it will run until Q is more than 0. Then it will become not true, boolean not true is 0, and while 0 means that it will end. And then display Q. Okay, so display open square bracket, open bracket, open square bracket. This is just the text here. Okay, and don't forget about this one and this one, open bracket, and then comma, and then num to string. So basically you change all the number result from number double to string for the Q. Okay, so same here, it will do the same. So you will get this result. Basically, this is the time, this is the charge. Okay. So let us take a look here. So you can see the result here. Okay, so usually time is at the top. You just change this location. You can see here at 0, 0.51, and 1.5 second. Okay. So Q is actually more than 2 because it will run it first and it will save. It will test the condition later. Okay. So understand how to this to understand this one. So basically, it will run everything. Okay, at the end, it will test the condition. Then it will stop. So basically, after running this, it it said that Q is no more, is not less than 2 anymore, but it's already calculated. That's why the result is still come out. Okay, that one is also important to know. Okay. And another thing, I think this one I don't mention yet. If you have some if you have some comment, okay, for example, if you already write something, if you don't want to forget, but you don't want to make it as a error, okay, you want to make a note, so you just use percentage, okay, percentage, and you write the note for the coding. Okay, if you have a long coding, you need to have a note. Okay, if not, you can forget what is the meaning of each of this. That's why you can code it. It will not run it into the MATLAB. It's just for you. Okay, the coding. Okay, just use percentage. And if you want to create a title, okay, some sort of heading, you just put double. Okay, yes, put double percentage, and then space. You can put the title. For example, 12. Okay, it's something like this. Okay, percentage, space. And for comment, you just use percentage. Okay, so next is the nested loop. So if you recall back, previously you learned about nested if. Okay, so if you look here, nested if, this one is also quite important. I repeat, this is important, usually come out in test. Okay, make sure you know how to do nested if. Okay, I repeat again, make sure you know how to do nested if. Okay, so it's almost the same. For loop, okay. Where is it? Okay, nested loop. Basically, you have loop inside the loop. So you can see here, okay, you have the first loop, you have the second loop. Okay. And of course, make sure you put the space. Sorry, it's error again. Okay, so you can see here, you need to have a spacing. Okay, spacing if you do 4. And then the second one, you need to groove inside harder. Okay, 2 indentation. Okay, 2 indentation. Okay. So that is means by nested loop. Why do you want to do nested loop? If you have multiple parameter that you want to change. Last time you can see here, you only want to change time. Okay. You only want to change the time. Okay. Where is the time? So this one. So change only one parameter. The other than that is the constant. And this is the output. So output, of course, changing. But the change parameter, the manipulated parameter is only one. But if you have two variable parameter, okay. So for this case, you can see here, A, you have 100, okay, 500, and 800. Okay, and N is 2, 4. So basically you have 2 parameters. So this one you have to recall back the compound interest formula. So B is equals to A 1 minus 1 plus R power of N. Okay, this is the compound interest formula. No need to remember, don't need to memorize this. This is just a problem. Okay, so basically you just need to know how to apply this into the MATLAB. So basically you have 2 variable parameter. Last time it's only 1, but now you have 2 variable parameter. Instead not only N, but you have to change A and N. So how to do this is basically just do a nested loop. So if you use for, you just list down all the value that you want to test. So you can see here, this one is the constant. It should be 0.09, but it's 0.08. Doesn't matter. Depend on you. You want to set it. Okay. So for A, you can see here, you just insert it 100, 500, and 800. Okay. So for this case, you display it first. Okay. Don't forget the format. Open bracket and then square bracket, and this one. Okay. A equals to space, and then you have to turn the number you created into a string. Okay, if not, you cannot print it. Okay, so display A is equal this one, and then for B, you can see here. Okay, so B is, of course, you have to list down the. Let me. Okay, so B, you can see here, it is from 2 to 10, and the step is 2. So, and then you include the formula. So it will print one by one. Okay. For the first one, it will print n is equals to 2, but A is equals to 100. Okay, n equals to 2, then 4, 6, 8, and 10. Then after you complete the first loop, inside loop, and then you go to the outside loop, it will change the A is equals to the second number, 500. And then goes inside the loop again, n is equals to 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. And then A is equals to 800. That is how the nested loop is done. So basically, it will solve the inner loop first, and then it will run the outer loop. Okay. So make sure you solve the first one first, and then the outside. Okay. Let us look here. So if I run this, you can see the result here. Okay. So because this one, as you recall back, if you don't index it, okay, you don't save it, okay, you have to print it inside the loop. So it will become something like this. So you can see here, for A, okay, equals to 100. So basically, you set 100 first, you run this, it will produce 100. Okay, and then this one, this display year and P. Okay, for 100, and this one will print again. It will show the result. This is the N, this is the B. Okay. So if you don't want to save it, you have to print the result inside the loop. Okay. If you save it, okay, in the index, okay, you can print it outside. Okay. So you can see here, it will run the 100 first, and then run everything inside the loop. And then it will change to 500. Okay. This one, A is equal to 500, and then it will run again inside the loop. And lastly, it will go something like this. And be careful, okay, for this result, it doesn't matter, it's direct to the point. But for this result, you can see here, there is a kilo. Okay, means that your result is in kilo. Okay, so make sure you know what is the meaning of this. Okay, E plus 3 means that kilo. So basically, your result will, you have to multiply by K. Okay. Okay, so that's it for example 12. We will continue with continue and break after this. But for now, we take break around 5 minutes. We continue with 2:35. So make sure you slide in your attendance. Okay, so we continue with the next part. Okay, you can hear me or not? And the screen is not freeze or not? Okay, is freezing or not? Hello? Somebody can respond?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, Doctor. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, Doctor.
Okay.
okay. So we continue with the continue statement and break statement. Okay. So what is continue? What is break? So this continue and break statement is for and while. Okay. As I mentioned before here. Okay. Break is for both for and while. Okay. You can use this. Okay. So what is continue? So continue is basically passing control to the next iteration or skip the remaining statement. Okay. So in nested loop, continue skip the remaining statement only in the body of the loop. Okay. So okay. So you can see here, this is the continue statement. Okay. So basically this code checks the number from 1 until 50 with the step of 1. Okay. And mode is basically equals to let me show you. Mode is just a division actually. So let me clear this. So mod 1 divided by 7 is okay. So mod 1 divided by 7, you get 1. So 2 divided by 7 is equals to 2. Mod 13 divided by 7, you get 6. So what is mod is basically the remainder. Okay. So if you divide, you have the remainder. Okay. Okay, I give you another example for you to understand this. Okay. Maybe 19. Okay. So basically mod is just a remainder. Okay. Maybe I show you again. Some of you maybe already forget what is remainder. Okay. So maybe 19 divided by 7. Okay. 7. You have 2. You get 14. You get the remainder is 5. Okay. Something like this. So basically mod 19, 7 is 5. Okay, this one. Okay, now we continue with the code. So you can see here, okay, so if mod 7 continue, okay. So what happened is that when the mod is 0, it will print the result, okay. So when mod, remember if 0 equals to 0, other is 1. Okay, when you run 1, okay, for example 1 divided by 7, you get 1. 2 divided by 7 is 2. So basically, anything that can be divided by 7, you get an integer, you will get 0. So for example, mod 7 and 7, okay, you get 0. So basically, when this is 0, okay, it will not go inside here. Okay, so other than that, it will display the number. Okay, this is just a text. Okay, and this is the number to string. Just print the number n. Okay, so you can see here, basically it will determine the number that can be divided by 7 until 15 because you set it, the n number is 50. Okay, and other number will go inside this. Okay. Okay, if you put continue, basically it will skip this. Okay. Let me discard this. Okay, so basically right now is 1. Okay, if 1 goes inside continue, it will not run this, it will skip to 2. Okay, after continue, it will automatically update this. Okay, so make sure you know what is the meaning of continue, basically passing to the next iteration. Okay, I hope you don't have any problem with this. This is, I think, quite simple. If you have any question, you can ask right now. Is that okay or not?
Okay, Doctor.
Okay. Okay, now we already finished continue. We continue with the break. Okay. For break is different. For continue, you just skip to the next iteration, but for break is basically end the iteration. So you just end. Okay, it will just exit the iteration. So for nested loop, okay, if break exists from the loop, it will occur a pass control pass to the statement that is the following and loop. Okay, so basically you have double loop. Okay, it will end the inner loop first. Okay, or the loop that is currently running. Okay, it's okay hard to explain this one. Okay, if maybe I should this one. Okay, so you have for something and you have n, and you have for something, you have n. Of course, don't forget about the n. Okay, and the break is here. Okay, okay, it will goes to this n. Okay, so basically it will still run this loop. Okay, but if you put the break n here, this one n, sorry, break. Oh, missing already. Okay, for okay, for okay, and so if you put the break here, it will automatically go here. Okay, it will end to the here. Okay, it will stop this loop. So basically, be careful with the nested loop. Okay, so I give you example 14. Let's write up a simple random number guessing game where you need to continuously guess until the number is correct. So just a guesser, number guesser. So you can use Randy. Okay. So basically Randy is just random integer number. So it automatically generate 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay. So if you use run, okay. If you have a random number between 1 to 6, you can just random this one. Okay, 0 is not counted. 0 doesn't count. Okay, only number 1, start from number 1 until this number you mentioned. And you have to use the break statement to end the program. So you can see here Randy, okay, random integer, and the n is 1, is 6. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, n is equals to 0. This one is just for index calculation. Or not index, this one is just for counter. If you use this as an index, make sure you start with 1. You cannot index the number in 0. Okay, 0 index, you cannot put index equals to 0. So this is just a counter. So guess input, this one also you will learn about is in chapter 6. Okay, so guess equals to input, but you need, at least you need to know, because to do the programming you need to have some sort of this. Okay, so input, open bracket, guess the number. This one is just a text. So basically this is an input. Okay, input and store inside the guess. And then this is, remember, this is just a counter. So n start from 0. So 0 plus 1, it will become 1. Okay. And if guess equals to x, remember you already randomly generate the x. Okay, if the number is same, you can display, you get the it right. Okay, num string try. Okay, that is how you want to display. Okay, basically you display the number n, and this one is the what is called the next text. Okay, so basically this is how you write the display combined with the variable, and then you want to add another text. Okay, and you put the break. So if you put the break here, basically automatically it will goes to this end. Okay, and go out. Okay, let us look. So if I run this, so guess number, so x is randomly chosen, even I don't know. So just put some number. So this is wrong. Okay, so you get it right after. Okay, you get it right after this one, and then the space, and it will print the number to string n. Okay, this one, this calculation, and then you continue the text with this. Okay, comma, open bracket, space, and this one. Okay, this one is not compulsory. You can delete this. This one. Okay, if you run this, okay, so it no longer have the open bracket. It's open. I forget the name. Okay, so that is how break work. Basically, if the condition is met, it goes to the break. Break will goes to the end. Okay, the while loop. Okay, so that is for break statement. Okay, simple one. Break statement. Okay, next is the vectorizing for loop. Okay, so this one, okay, given a way MATLAB has designed for loops tends to be inefficient. So if you recall here, okay, you have to, okay, this one, you can see here, it will run 50 times. Okay, so basically it runs the same code over and over and over again. So it is not efficient. Okay, it is inefficient, and which result in computing time. So basically, if you run the program, it takes time to complete, especially if your program is complicated. So if you try to recap example 9 formula, the compound, I just write it back. Okay, so B is equals to A. Oh, for this case, it's use small capital. So B is equals to A1 plus R F. Okay, and again, this one you don't have to memorize. Okay, this is just an example. In your test, different types of formula will be given. Okay, this one is B, large capital B. Okay, so for this one, you can see that A is 100 by 100 and 800. And for N is just, R is just 0.09. But for N is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So basically you have two variable A and N that change. Okay, variable parameter. Okay, so to do this, of course, you have to do nested loop. Okay, if you have used nested loop, but the problem is quite slow. So instead of using nested loop, you can use vectorize Okay, so if you recall what is vectorizing is is something like a logical vector, something like this. Okay, so you just let me show you. Okay, so you can see here, this is the standard. Okay, let me look here. Okay, this is vectorizing. So what is the difference? Okay, this one is much more complicated here. So what it means that you can see here B1, 2, 3. So it's combine the knowledge from your chapter 2 and this chapter. Okay. Not chapter 2, I think chapter 2, I think. So basically, you can see here, you have A is equals to this one and N is equals to this one. For N, you put inside the for loop. Okay. But if you do this, the problem is that it will become error. So let me okay, so if you, for example, just don't do this, okay, so you run this, it's only printing the first number, if not mistaken, okay, so it will only choose the first number, okay, so A and B, you only get these 3 results. Oh, sorry. For this case, it only show the last result, okay, because you don't have any index, okay. So what happened is you just put the index here, okay. What happened is when you do 4 and n divide by 2, remember n needs to be one step, okay. But for this case, is start with the 2, okay, and the step is 2. So you can either simplify this, you just divide by 2, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Automatically you can use the n as index as long as you modify this, okay. And for this one, you have to do, for this case, is automatically done it for 1, 2, and 3 for the same loop. Okay, let me show you how it's done. So A is this one is just parameter. So if you run here, okay, if you run, you can see here, n right now is 2. Okay, it run the first number. Okay, you can see here, because n is divided by 2, it will print the first row. But 1, 2, 3 means that it will run automatically for all the A. Okay, 100, 500, and 800. Okay, that is mean by vectorizing. So basically, this is just a chapter 2. Okay, you have to recall back chapter 2. Automatically, it's just run like that. And then you complete the first one, you get the answer here. This is for 100, 500, and 800, but the year is only 2. Okay, now run again. Right now the n is 4. Okay, and you run again. Basically, because the year n right now is 4, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we'll go to the column number 2 and it will run again everything. So this is basically loop with index. Okay, so you get the answer. Okay, so this is 100, 800, 100, 500, 800, and this one is year 2, year 4, year 8, year 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay, and this one is the multiplication. Okay, recall back. This one means that you have to multiply all of this number with kilo. Okay, E negative 3. 4,000. Okay, any problem with this? Any question, problem? Understand how this vectorization occur in the loop? Okay, because this is a little bit tricky. Okay, if you look at the for loop and while loop, it's direct to the point. But vectorizing, you need some creativity to simplify the result. Okay, should I continue? Okay.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if there is no problem, so the next slide. Avoid for loop by array operation. So this is, remember you have 4 types. If you recall back the note I show you. Okay, so you have for, you have while. This one is vector loop, basically a combination of for or while with the vectorization. And lastly, array loop. So recall back array operation, chapter 3. Okay, remember array operation. So basically, this one is just revision for your array operation to do a loop. So although for loop is essential in many cases, there are case-special scientific programming where it is possible to convert all indices into array. Okay, so as I mentioned before, for and while loop is computer burden, take a long time. And if you can creatively create an array operation to do the loop, okay, better you use this one. Okay, so how to do this? So I give you example 16. So basically example 13, repeat back again. Okay, you use mesh grid. Okay, what it means by mesh grid? Okay, okay, if you recall back array operation, chapter 3, the one that A dot multiply B, okay, A dot divide B, okay, if you recall back. So when you want to do this, okay, remember the first thing that you need to do, okay, if you have a metric is something like this, 1, 2, 3, okay. If you do array operation, make sure the second array has the same size. Okay, for array operation, you need to have the same size. This is 2 multiplied by 2. This one also needs to 2 multiplied by 2. And the multiplication is just 1, 5, okay, 2, 6, 12, 3, 7, 21, and 4, 32. Okay, it's just direct multiplication. Okay, so that is your recall on your array operation. Okay, so because if you recall here, A is 100, 500, and 800, right? Okay. And B, N is equals to 2, 4, 6, 8. So you can see here, this is 1 multiplied by 3. This one is 1 multiplied by 4. So the size is not the same, okay? Because you want the result for all of these combination. So how to do this? So basically you use mesh grid, okay? So basically from these 2 parameters, it will create a mesh, okay? So what is mesh? Okay, so A, if you call back here, A 100, okay, 500, okay, 800, and is 2, 4, 6, 8. So because you want everything is multiplied to everything using array operation, so basically you create something like this: 100, 100, 100, okay, 5, sorry, there's no Okay, never mind. I will just show you in the programming. Okay. So you can see here, A is equals to this one and this one. Okay. R is just a constant, no need to worry. So you use mesh grid. Okay. So mesh grid is basically you put the two parameter here. Okay. And then it will create another parameter that you can use to do a array operation. So basically you can see here, 100, okay, 100, 500, 800. So the A will become this one. 100, 500, 800. It will repeat again, repeat, repeat, repeat with the same length as the another parameter. Okay, same as here. You can see here, because there are three parameters here, it will repeat again and again and again. So that is how you use mesh grid. Okay, so I highlight this. So if you run this, you will get the result directly. Okay. Okay, you can see here, and automatically will be adjusted so that it will compatible with this one. Okay. So make sure you know how to use mesh grid. And then for the multiplication, of course, you have to use array operation. Okay. Any question for this? Okay, if no, I continue with the loop versus array. So this is just for your information. This is just a repetition of the previous example that you used. Okay, this is the mesh grid, and this is using for nested loop. Okay, the difference is that you want to compare this, you have to use tick-tock. Okay, so you have tick, you have tock. So basically, tick, you just start measuring the time. Okay, and tock, you end the measured time. Okay, so you can use tick to start the time and tock end the processing time, and you save it in the time 1. Okay, for this case, time 2. So basically, you want to test whether the time is good or not. Okay, the processing. So basically, this is just to ensure that your program is fast. Okay. So let us look. Okay, this is just a repetition from your previous example. So I give you this. Okay, quite slow. Okay, so you can see here, when you do mesh grid, okay, if you use mesh grid, the operation is only 2 seconds. Okay, it will measure the processing time. It's only 2 seconds. But if you use nested loop, okay, this one, the nested loop, okay, it takes 10 seconds. It's quite slow. Okay, that's why, if possible, better to program it as a mesh grid or vectorization. Okay, so I suggest you practice it, how to convert some of the for loop, nested for loop into the mesh grid. Okay, this is good practice. Okay, this one, I think this is the same as before. Okay, so this one should not be here. Okay, let me check. Okay, so this one is basically the decision. Recall back here. This one. Okay, so decision using logical vector. So if you recall back what is logical vector, is basically where is it? This one. So you have the formula multiplied by the condition, and then you add everything up. Okay, but the problem is that this one is only for 1. Okay, because you use normal multiplication. Okay, so if you want to do this for multiple income, for example, something like this. Okay, you have one multiple income. So you just convert this into array operation. So it will become something like this. Okay, you just multiply this one, multiply this one. Okay, that is the only difference. You change from metric operation to array operation. Okay, and you just add everything up. So instead of using loop, okay, for or while for all of these parameter, you can just use array operation. That is the advantage of array operation. You can eliminate the loop operation. Okay, so that's it for chapter 4. Okay, so this is the example here. Okay, so for example here, I suggest you try to do some practice. Okay, for this one is also quite good. Okay, let me see example number 2. Okay, so this one if 79 display true, if else this one. Okay, so you have to change this to switch case. Okay, so make sure you practice this, how to change if else to switch case. Okay, so for this case, okay, let me delete this first. I give you some of the example. Okay, so if you want to use while 79 display true, DISP TRUE. Okay, and then otherwise, okay, okay, otherwise display false. Sorry, while is what? Otherwise, right? Oh, sorry. This one is loop. This one is switch. Okay. N equals to 79. Okay. Okay, for this case, you have to flip it. Okay. For n is equals to 0. Okay. Okay. So it will become something like this. Why you have to change everything up? Because, okay, if any number, it will display true. Okay. So basically, else it will display false. For this case, any number will be displayed true and only 0 will display false. Okay. So for this case, okay, because you use switch, okay, and we'll check the same case. Okay. So only 0 is display false. Otherwise, it will display true. That's why you have to flip this. Okay. It's not a direct translation. So you have to think about the output and make sure that this changing from if else to switch case, okay, needs to be the same output. Okay, That is the first things that you have to learn from drill 1. Okay. So next is number 2. Okay. Draw the flowchart for example 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this one is quite an important skill. Okay. So let me change this. Okay. So for this case, usually come out in your chapter 1 actually. So you given a code, okay? You have to convert this example into a flowchart. So this is quite a popular question. So draw the flowchart for example 3, 4, 5. Okay, given this one. So of course, when you draw a flowchart, you have to start first with the oval, and then because this is input, you have to draw this one. So A, B, C. Okay, and then the process, and don't forget the arrow. So D equals to B squared minus 4 AC. Okay, so next you have a condition. Okay, condition, you have to use this symbol. So D is equals to 0 and A is not equals to 0. So if true, it will go to this process. X equals to negative B divided by 2A, and else false. Okay, so because this is output, okay, different root. Okay, so after that complete, make sure you put N. Okay, so use the same as start. Okay, the same symbol. Okay, so something like this. Okay, make sure you practice convert everything into the flowchart or pseudocode. Okay, pseudocode is also popular question. Are you given a code, you have to convert to flowchart or pseudocode. Pseudocode usually doesn't occur, but usually flowchart. So example 4. So for this case, so you can see here. So start. Okay, so you have D equals to B squared minus 4 AC. Okay, condition. Okay, D is equal to 0 and A is not equals to 0. Okay, so if true, yes. Don't forget the arrow. Okay, the previous one also. Make sure you don't forget about the false. Yes or no, true or false. Something. Okay, this one you have to write everything back. Okay, if no, you have another condition. So for this case, you have two conditions. The second one is D more than 0 and A not equals to 0. So if yes, okay, and no. Okay, so yes is x1, x2, something and something. And of course, this is output. You have to put something like this, complex root. Okay, and don't forget about the end. Everything needs go to the end. Never leave it right there. So go here. Okay, and so go here. everything needs to go to the end. Okay, the program needs to start with start, one start, and you can put multiple end. Okay, if you don't like this one, you can just adjust this and put it here. Okay, you can have multiple end. Okay, you only have needs to have one start, but you have multiple end. Okay, for example, this one. Okay, make sure you go everything, all the path in the program needs to go to the end. Okay, so complete drill 2. Okay, example 5 you can try on your own. Okay, example 8. So where is example 8? Okay, so example 8, rewrite this or remove the code. Okay, so maybe you can try to practice this. It's already 3:13. Okay, so try to do the flow drill. So next week, okay, so next week is the test 1. Okay, I like to remind you again, next week is test 1 and it will cover until chapter 4, this chapter. Okay, so make sure you do the revision for this, everything of this. Okay, so I suggest you focus on nested if. Okay, okay, nested if. Okay, and then for loop, maybe you should focus on the how to convert the for loop to while loop. Okay, and flip. Okay, for loop to while loop to for loop. Okay, practice like example 1. Okay, that one. Okay, this one is for switch case. But same question, but try to use in the loop version. Okay. So example, for example, this one, how to convert for into while. Okay, you have to practice how to do that. Okay. Any question before we end the class? I have to end the class early today. My throat is not very good right now. Okay, any question? Okay.
No, not yet.
So we end the class early and we continue with chapter 5 next week. Okay, see you again next week. Sorry, not next week. Next Wednesday, right? Okay, so see you again next Wednesday.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Doctor.
Assalamualaikum.